Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the exploration vessel Endeavour, watching the blue and green world of Kepler 442b grow larger on the main screen. 3 years had passed since humanity joined the Galactic Council through the Terran Peace Accords, and Jake still felt proud every time he saw human ships working alongside alien vessels in the vast darkness. Between stars, the treaty had changed everything for humanity. No longer were they alone in the universe, struggling to reach distant worlds with primitive technology. Now they had friends among 17 different alien species, sharing knowledge and resources that had advanced human civilization by centuries in just a few short years. Jake walked over to his communications officer, Lieutenant Ben Carter, who was monitoring radio signals from the mining colony below. "Any word from the surface, Ben?" "Nothing yet, Captain," Ben replied, his voice carrying a note of concern. "We should have heard from Dr. Peter Hayes by now. His research team was supposed to check in 6 hours ago." Jake frowned. Peter Hayes was one of Earth's best xenobiologists, a man who had spent the last 2 years studying alien plant life to help develop new medicines for both human and alien diseases. He was not the type of person to miss a scheduled communication. "Try raising them again," Jake ordered. "Use emergency frequencies if you have to." As Ben worked at his console, Jake thought about how much the galaxy had changed since the peace treaty. The Galactic Council met on the neutral world of Sanctum Prime, where representatives from all member species worked together to solve problems and share discoveries. Humans had been welcomed warmly by most species, though a few had expressed doubts about adding another military-capable race to their peaceful alliance. The Zephyrian Empire, led by High Chancellor Vexstar, had been particularly vocal about their concerns. Vexstar often spoke in council meetings about the need to monitor human activities closely, claiming that humans were too aggressive and unpredictable to be trusted with advanced technology. Ambassador Linda Carter, Earth's representative to the Council, had worked tirelessly to address these concerns and build trust between humanity and its new alien neighbors. "Still nothing, Captain," Ben reported. "The colony's main transmitter appears to be offline. I'm not even getting automated system updates." Jake felt a cold sensation in his stomach. Kepler 442b was home to 12,000 colonists, mostly miners and their families, who had volunteered to help extract rare minerals needed for the new joint human-alien construction projects. The colony had been operating smoothly for 18 months, with no major problems reported. "Set course for the colony," Jake commanded. "Best possible speed." As the Endeavour descended through the planet's atmosphere, Jake could see that something was terribly wrong. The colony's landing pads, which should have been busy with cargo ships and personnel transports, were empty. Smoke rose from several buildings, and the defensive satellites that protected the colony from asteroid impacts were nowhere to be seen. "Captain," called out Dr. Lisa Morgan, the ship's medical officer, "I'm reading no life signs from the main settlement. The population centers are completely silent." Jake's hands tightened into fists. "Put us down at landing pad Alpha. Full security alert. I want armed teams ready to deploy the moment we touch ground." The Endeavour landed with a soft thud, and Jake led the first security team out of the ship. What they found made even the most experienced crew members sick to their stomachs. Bodies lay scattered throughout the colony, and every building showed signs of attack by advanced energy weapons. The orbital defense platforms had been completely destroyed, their wreckage scattered across the landscape like broken toys. Jake knelt beside the body of a young woman near the main administrative building. She wore the uniform of a communications technician, and her equipment showed signs of having been destroyed by plasma fire. The same type of plasma weapons used by the Corvic hegemony, a militaristic alien species that had opposed human membership in the Galactic Council from the beginning. "Captain," Dr. Morgan called from across the settlement square, "I found Dr. Hayes." Jake hurried over to where Morgan was examining the body of the famous scientist. Peter Hayes had been shot multiple times, but his research equipment had been carefully destroyed rather than simply blasted apart. This suggested that the attackers knew exactly what they were looking for and wanted to make sure no valuable information survived. Lieutenant Sam Brooks, the ship's tactical officer, approached with a portable scanner in his hands. "Captain, I found energy signatures throughout the colony. The weapon patterns match Korthic plasma cannons, but there are also traces of Zephyrian ion beams and Drachmori particle accelerators." Jake stared at the data on Sam's scanner. Multiple alien species had participated in this attack, working together to destroy a peaceful human colony. This was not the action of pirates or raiders, but a coordinated military strike. "How many ships were involved?" Jake asked. "At least 12, possibly more," Sam replied. "The orbital defenses never had a chance. They were overwhelmed in minutes." Jake activated his communication device and contacted the Endeavor. "Ben, I need you to send an encrypted message to Earth immediately. Use the highest security protocols we have." "What should the message say, Captain?" Jake looked around at the destroyed colony, thinking about the 12,000 innocent people who had died here. Men, women, and children who had come to this distant world to build a better future for humanity and its alien allies. Now they were all dead, killed by the very species that had promised to protect them under the terms of the peace accords. "Tell them the accords are dead," Jake said quietly. "Tell them our enemies struck first, and they showed no mercy. Ask for new orders, because I have a feeling everything is about to change." As the Endeavor's crew worked to document the massacre and collect evidence, Jake received a priority message from Ambassador Carter on Sanctum Prime. The news was even worse than he had feared. 3 more human colonies had gone silent in the past 24 hours, and alien ships were being spotted in human-controlled space systems where they had no business being. The Galactic Council was scheduled to meet in 2 days to discuss what they called recent tensions in human space. But Jake knew that this was no longer about tensions or misunderstandings. This was about survival. He walked back to his ship, passing the covered bodies of colonists his crew had gathered for proper burial. Among them were families who had trusted in the peace treaty, scientists who had dedicated their lives to helping all species, and children who would never grow up to see the stars. Jake activated his personal log recorder as the Endeavor lifted off from the dead world. Personal log, Captain Jake Morrison. The Terran peace accords have failed. What we found here today was not an accident or a misunderstanding. This was genocide, planned and executed by multiple alien species working together. They wanted to send us a message, and they have succeeded. The message is clear. Humans are no longer welcome in their galaxy. He paused, watching Kepler 442b shrink in the view screen as they climbed toward space. But they have made one critical mistake. They assume that because we sought peace, we are weak. They think that because we tried to be friends, we cannot be enemies. Soon they will learn how wrong they are. Soon they will discover what humans become when their families are threatened and their trust is betrayed. The Endeavor jumped to hyperspace, carrying news that would change the galaxy forever. News of the Kepler massacre spread through the galactic communication networks like wildfire, but the reaction was not what humanity had expected. Instead of outrage and demands for justice, the response from the Galactic Council was measured and cold. High Chancellor Vex Tar of the Zephyrian Empire called for an impartial investigation, while privately meeting with other alien leaders to discuss what they termed the human problem. Admiral Kate Sullivan stood in the command center of Luna Base, Earth's primary military facility, watching status reports flow in from across human space. her small defensive fleet, originally designed to protect Earth and its closest colonies from pirates and natural disasters, was completely inadequate for the crisis now facing humanity. "Admiral," called out Commander Ryan Torres, her chief intelligence officer, "we're receiving reports from the Centauri system. The Drakmori Collective has seized all 3 human trade stations, claiming they need to ensure security in the region." Kate's jaw tightened. The Drakmori had been among humanity's closest allies, their insect-like appearance hiding minds that seemed to appreciate human creativity and determination. For them to suddenly turn hostile meant the conspiracy against humanity was broader than anyone had imagined. "Any word from our people on those stations?" Kate asked. "Nothing," Ryan replied grimly. "The Drakmori are calling them protective custody, but our diplomatic requests for contact have been ignored." Kate turned to the large display showing human space. Red markers indicated colonies and stations that had gone silent or been seized by alien forces. In just 48 hours, humanity had lost contact with nearly 30% of its outer settlements. On Earth, President Robert Clark faced his own crisis. The emergency session of Congress had been going for 6 hours, with angry representatives demanding immediate military action, while others called for renewed diplomatic efforts. Clark knew that either choice could lead to disaster for humanity. "Mr. President," said Defense Secretary Linda Hayes during a brief recess, "we need to face the reality of our situation. Our exploration and defense fleets total less than 200 ships, while the combined alien forces number in the thousands. If this becomes a shooting war, we cannot win with conventional forces." Clark looked out the window of the Oval Office at the peaceful Washington skyline. Somewhere out there, in the research facilities and manufacturing centers scattered across Earth and its moon, lay humanity's real strength. But activating those resources would mean abandoning any hope of returning to the peaceful coexistence they had enjoyed for 3 years. "What about Project Lazarus?" Clark asked quietly. Linda's eyes widened. Project Lazarus was humanity's most classified program, developed during the years before first contact, when many experts feared that meeting alien civilizations might not go peacefully. When the peace accords were signed, Lazarus had been mothballed, its resources redirected to civilian purposes. "Sir, reactivating Lazarus would take months, maybe years," Linda replied. "And the cost would be enormous. We would have to convert most of our civilian industry to military production. How long do you think we have before they move against Earth itself?" Clark asked. Linda checked her tablet computer, reviewing the LATEST intelligence reports. "Based on current alien fleet movements, perhaps weeks. The Korthic hegemony is massing ships near the Sol system boundary, and the Ethereal Assembly has closed all hyperspace routes into human space. They're isolating U.S. before moving in for the final attack." While Earth's leaders debated their options, Ambassador Carter found herself in an increasingly dangerous situation on Sanctum Prime. The other council members were no longer bothering to hide their hostility toward humanity, and several species had begun calling for Earth's immediate expulsion from the galactic community. "The evidence is clear," declared Speaker Vic Maul of the Korthic delegation during what would be humanity's final council session. "The humans have been secretly militarizing their colonies and preparing for aggressive expansion. The destruction of their settlements was obviously the result of internal conflicts over resources." Carter stood to respond, but High Chancellor Vextar raised a scaled hand to silence her. "The human representative will not be permitted to spread more lies in this chamber. We have decided that Earth's membership in this council is suspended, pending a full investigation of human activities." "You cannot do this," Carter protested. "The Accords guarantees humanity's right to be heard before this body." "The Accords are no longer in effect," Vextar replied coldly. Humanity has violated the spirit of peaceful cooperation through its aggressive actions. You will remain on Sanctum Prime as our guest while we determine the full extent of human crimes against galactic peace." Carter realized with growing horror that she was being arrested. Security guards from multiple alien species surrounded her, making it clear that resistance would be futile. As they escorted her from the council chamber, she managed to activate her emergency transmitter, sending a coded message to Earth before the aliens could stop her. On the frontier world of New Montana, rancher Sam Brooks gathered his neighbors in the main settlement hall. Reports had been coming in all day about alien ships attacking human settlements throughout the outer colonies, and everyone knew it was only a matter of time before the attackers reached their world. "I've been in contact with other settlements," Sam told the worried crowd. "The aliens are moving systematically through human space, destroying our defenses and either killing or capturing our people. Earth is too far away to help us, so we're on our own." Mary Johnson, the local schoolteacher, raised her hand. "What can we do against alien warships? We're farmers and miners, not soldiers." Sam had been thinking about this question all day. New Montana had been settled by people who valued independence and self-reliance, many of them veterans of Earth's various conflicts who had come to the frontier seeking peaceful lives. But peace was no longer an option. "We have hunting weapons, mining explosives, and construction vehicles that can be modified," Sam replied. "More importantly, we know this land better than any alien invader. If they want to take our world, we'll make them pay for every meter." As if summoned by his words, alarms began sounding throughout the settlement. In the distance, they could see the bright flashes of energy weapons as alien ships attacked the orbital communication station. The war had come to New Montana. Back on Earth, President Clark made his decision. The reports from across human space left no doubt that the alien species intended to destroy humanity completely. The peace accords had been a trap designed to make humans lower their guard while their enemies prepared for genocide. "Activate Project Lazarus," Clark ordered Defense Secretary Hayes. "All classifications are lifted. Begin immediate conversion of civilian facilities to military production. And send word to every human settlement still under our control. We are no longer bound by the accords. They want a war, so we'll give them one they'll never forget." Clark walked to his desk and activated the emergency broadcast system that would carry his words to every human world. "My fellow humans, across Earth and throughout the colonies, we face the gravest threat in our species' history. The aliens who promised us friendship have revealed their true nature. They seek not coexistence, but our complete destruction." He paused, thinking about the peaceful years when humanity had believed they had found their place among the stars. Those days were over, and what came next would test everything humans believed about themselves. For 3 years, we sought peace and offered friendship to species who saw only weakness. We shared our knowledge, opened our worlds, and trusted, in treaties that meant nothing to those who signed them. That trust has been repaid with betrayal and murder. The president's voice grew harder, carrying the weight of a species pushed too far. But they have made one fatal mistake. They believe that because we chose peace, we are incapable of war. They think that because we offered friendship, we cannot be enemies. Soon they will learn the truth about humanity. Soon they will discover what we become when our families are threatened and our children are in danger. As Clark's words echoed across human space, millions of people began preparing for a war that would reshape the galaxy. In hidden facilities across Earth and Luna, machinery that had been silent for years began humming back to life. The sleeping giant was awakening, and its enemies would soon learn to regret their betrayal. General Marcus Webb had been enjoying his retirement on a quiet farm in Montana when the emergency recall order arrived. At 62 years old, he had served humanity through 3 major conflicts before the peace accords made his services unnecessary. Now, as he stood in the newly reactivated Strategic Command Center beneath the Rocky Mountains, he realized that his most important war was just beginning. "Show me what we have," Marcus ordered his staff as holographic displays filled the command center with data streams from across human space. Colonel Danny Rodriguez, his chief of operations, activated the main tactical display. "Project Lazarus is coming online faster than we expected, General. The civilian manufacturing facilities were designed with conversion protocols that allow rapid retooling for military production." Marcus studied the information flowing across his screens. During the peaceful years, humanity had built what appeared to be a massive civilian infrastructure, with mining operations, shipyards, and research facilities spread throughout human space. What the aliens had not realized was that every major facility had been designed with hidden military capabilities, ready to be activated if humanity ever faced an existential threat. "How long before the first new ships are ready?" Marcus asked. "The Reaper-class destroyers will begin rolling off the production lines in 72 hours, Danny replied. "We're also upgrading existing exploration vessels with military-grade weapons and armor. By the end of the week, we'll have tripled our combat capability." Marcus nodded grimly. The Reaper-class ships were based on technology humanity had developed in secret during the years before First Contact, designed specifically for fighting enemies with superior numbers and firepower. They were fast, heavily armed, and built to operate independently behind enemy lines. Meanwhile, the alien coalition was growing more confident with each passing day. High Commander Thekmal of the Korthek fleet had established his headquarters on a captured asteroid facility near the edge of human space, from where he coordinated attacks on the remaining human settlements. These soft primates learned nothing. From our demonstration on Kepler, Thekmal boasted to his assembled commanders, "Their pathetic defensive fleet cannot protect even their own homeworld. Soon we will finish what we started and claim their territories for ourselves." The Korthik leader's confidence was shared by his alien allies. The Drakmori Collective had deployed their swarm fleets to blockade human trade routes, while the Zephyrian Empire's powerful dreadnoughts moved into position around Earth's solar system. The Ethereal Assembly, masters of hyperspace technology, had sealed off all known jump points leading to human space. What none of them realized was that humanity had developed its own faster-than-light technology, kept secret during the peaceful years as a strategic reserve. While the aliens controlled the known hyperspace routes, human ships could travel through dimensions that their enemies did not even know existed. Captain Lisa Morgan stood on the bridge of the destroyer Vengeance, one of the first new ships to emerge from the converted shipyards. Her crew was a mix of military veterans and civilian volunteers, united by their determination to make the aliens pay for their betrayal. "Target acquired," reported Lieutenant Kyle Smith from the weapons console. "Korthik staging base bearing 27 Mark IV, range 50,000 kilometers." Lisa studied the tactical display showing Proxima Station, a massive alien facility that served as the command center for attacks on human colonies. Intelligence reports indicated that over 300 human prisoners were being held there, captured during the initial alien assaults. "Remember, our priority is the prisoner compound," Lisa told her crew. "Once we've secured our people, we can worry about destroying everything else." The Vengeance dropped out of hyperspace directly, above the alien station, accompanied by 5 other Reaper-class destroyers. The Korthik defenders had barely enough time to register the human ships. Arrival before the attack began. Human tactics were unlike anything the aliens had encountered before. Instead of the massive frontal assaults favored by most species, the human ships fought like a pack of wolves, coordinating their attacks to maximize damage while minimizing their own exposure to enemy fire. Direct hit on their main weapons array, Kyle reported as the Vengeance's missiles found their targets. Enemy shields are failing. Lisa watched as her fellow captains executed the battle plan with precision. The aliens had expected humans to fight like civilized beings, following established rules of engagement and avoiding unnecessary destruction. Instead, they found themselves facing opponents who fought with the desperate fury of a species fighting for survival. "Prisoner compound secured," came the report from the Marine assault team. 327 humans recovered, all alive but requiring medical attention. "Excellent," Lisa replied. "Now let's show these aliens what happens when they threaten human families." The Battle of Proxima Station lasted exactly 18 minutes. When it was over, the massive alien facility was a floating wreck, and every Korthic ship in the system had been destroyed. Most importantly, there were no alien survivors to report what they had witnessed. Word of the victory spread through human space like wildfire. On besieged colonies like New Montana, defenders like Sam Brooks received their first good news in weeks. Supply drops began arriving with advanced weapons and equipment, along with messages of support from Earth. "Looks like Earth hasn't forgotten about us after all," Sam told his fellow colonists as they unloaded plasma rifles and portable shield generators from the latest supply drop. "Time to show these alien invaders what frontier justice really means." The alien leaders were slow to understand the significance of the Proxima Station disaster. High Chancellor Vex Tar dismissed it as a lucky strike by desperate humans, while Vekmal blamed the defeat on Korthic, overconfidence rather than human capability. Their dismissive attitude began to change when human ships started appearing in systems that should have been impossible to reach. The hyperspace blockades that were supposed to trap humanity in their home systems proved useless against human technology that operated on completely different principles. Admiral Kate Sullivan had spent the weeks since the crisis began planning humanity's response. Her expanded fleet now included not only the new Reaper-class destroyers, but also converted civilian vessels armed with weapons that surprised even their own crews. "Admiral," reported Captain Tony Parker from the bridge of the converted cargo, "Hauler Defiance. We're receiving surrender requests from the Drakmori fleet in the Vega system." Kate smiled coldly. The Drakmori had been among the first to betray humanity, seizing human trade stations and imprisoning civilians who had trusted them as allies. Now their swarm fleets were discovering that human ships could appear anywhere, anytime, without warning. "Tell them we'll accept their surrender after they return every human they've captured," Kate replied. "Until then, they can consider themselves at war with humanity." The change in alien attitudes became obvious when desperate messages began arriving from neutral species throughout the galaxy. Elder Sage Kinara of the peaceful Luminians sent urgent communications to Earth, begging for a ceasefire before the conflict spread beyond human space. President Clark read the alien pleas with grim satisfaction. For 3 years, humanity had tried to build peaceful relationships with these species, only to be betrayed and marked for genocide. Now they wanted mercy from the very people they had tried to exterminate. "Send a reply to the Luminians," Clark ordered his communications. "Staff, tell them that humanity is no longer interested in negotiations or ceasefires. The aliens had their chance for peace, and they chose war instead. Now they will learn what war with humanity really means." As human fleets continued their relentless advance through alien space, the galaxy began to understand that something fundamental had changed. The peaceful explorers who had joined the Galactic Council 3 years ago were gone, replaced by warriors who fought with the fury of the wronged and the determination of the desperate. General Webb studied the tactical reports flowing into his command center, watching as human forces systematically dismantled the alien coalition's military infrastructure. The enemy had made a critical error in judgment, assuming that humanity's desire for peace was the same as weakness. "Sir," Colonel Rodriguez reported, Admiral Sullivan's fleet is in position above the Drakmori homeworld. She's requesting permission to begin orbital bombardment. Marcus considered the request carefully. The Drakmori homeworld was home to billions of innocent civilians who had played no role in their government's decision to betray humanity. But it was also the center of the military machine that had imprisoned and murdered human families. Tell the Admiral to proceed, Marcus decided. But first, give the Drakmori government one final chance to surrender. 12 hours to return all human prisoners and accept unconditional terms. After that, we show them what happens to species that mistake human mercy for weakness. The Drakmori Collective's response to Admiral Sullivan's ultimatum came in the form of plasma cannon fire directed at her flagship. The alien government had chosen defiance over surrender, sealing the fate of their species in a decision that would echo through galactic history. Admiral Kate Sullivan stood on the bridge of the battlecruiser Titan's Fury, watching as the largest space battle in galactic history began to unfold around her. The Drakmori had assembled every ship they could find, creating a defensive fleet of over 800 vessels protecting their homeworld. Against them, humanity had deployed 300 ships of various classes, outnumbered nearly 3-1. All ships, this is Admiral Sullivan, she broadcast to her fleet. The enemy has chosen to protect those who ordered the murder of human families. Show them the price of that decision. The battle began with a coordinated human assault that demonstrated the fundamental differences between human and alien military thinking. While the Drakmori relied on massive dreadnoughts designed to slug it out in traditional fleet engagements, human ships were built for speed, flexibility, and devastating surprise attacks. Captain Danny Rodriguez commanded the strike cruiser Vengeance, leading a squadron of Reaper-class destroyers in hit-and-run attacks against the outer edge of the Drakmori formation. His ships would appear without warning, strike at vulnerable targets, and vanish back into hyperspace before the enemy could respond effectively. Target the command ships first, Danny ordered his squadron. Cut off their communications and coordination. The human tactics proved devastatingly effective. Drakmori commanders found themselves fighting blind as their command vessels exploded around them, leaving individual ship captains to make their own decisions without central coordination. The disciplined alien formation began to dissolve into chaos as human ships struck from unexpected angles. Enemy formation is breaking up, reported Lieutenant Amy Foster from her position at the tactical console. Their heavy cruisers are trying to regroup, but our destroyers are keeping them separated. Kate watched the battle unfold with professional satisfaction. The aliens had spent years believing that their superior numbers and heavier ships gave them an unbeatable advantage. They had not understood that humanity's approach to warfare was fundamentally different, based on mobility and aggression rather than raw firepower. On the surface of the Drakmori homeworld, billions of alien civilians watched their mighty fleet being systematically destroyed by the species they had dismissed as weak and primitive. The human ships moved like predators among their formations, striking without warning and disappearing before retaliation was possible. "Admiral," called out Commander Helen Ross from the communications station, "we're receiving emergency transmissions from multiple Drakmori colonies. They're offering to surrender if we spare their homeworld." Kate considered the offer for exactly 3 seconds before rejecting it. Tell them that surrender was an option 12 hours ago. Now they can watch their fleet burn and consider the consequences of betraying humanity. The turning point in the battle came when human marine forces launched their assault on the Drakmori prison facilities. Colonel Tony Parker led the attack. Knowing that thousands of human civilians were being held in conditions that violated every principle of civilized warfare. "Breach charges ready," reported Sergeant Lisa Brooks as her squad prepared to assault the main detention facility. Sensors show approximately 2,000 human prisoners inside, including children. Tony gave the order to attack, and human. Marines stormed through the alien facility with the fury of people fighting to save their own families. What they found inside made even veteran soldiers sick with rage. The human prisoners had been subjected to medical experiments, forced labor, and deliberate starvation. Children as young as 5 years old showed signs of torture, while adults bore the marks of interrogation techniques designed to break their spirits. Among the victims was Dr. Jennifer Hayes, the renowned physicist who had helped develop humanity's hyperspace technology. "Get them all to the medical ships," Tony ordered his medics, "and document everything. The galaxy needs to see what these aliens did to innocent humans." As the rescue operation continued, the space battle above reached its climax. The Drakmori fleet had been reduced to scattered remnants, their formation shattered by human tactics they could not understand or counter. Admiral Sullivan prepared to deliver the final blow. "All ships, concentrate fire on the remaining command vessels," she ordered. And this? The last Drakmori admiral tried to surrender as human ships closed in around his flagship, but Kate was no longer in a mood for mercy. The images from the prison facilities had been transmitted to every human ship, showing her crews exactly what they were fighting against. "No quarter," she broadcast to her fleet. "They showed none to our families." The destruction of the Drakmori fleet sent shockwaves throughout the alien coalition. High Chancellor Vextar, watching the battle reports from his flagship near Earth, began to understand that humanity was not the weak prey he had expected. How is this possible? He demanded of his military advisors. "Our intelligence indicated that humans had fewer than 200 combat vessels." General Kexther, the Zephyrian military commander, studied the tactical data with growing concern. They appeared to have hidden production facilities and technology we knew nothing about. Their ships use hyperspace principles we do not understand. Vex stars. Confidence began to crack as more reports arrived. Human fleets were appearing throughout alien space, striking at military installations and freeing human prisoners with surgical precision. The coordinated campaign that was supposed to eliminate humanity had turned into a disaster for the alien coalition. "We must strike at Earth directly," Vextar decided. "If we can destroy their homeworld, their scattered fleets will surrender." It was a decision born of desperation and fear, and it would prove to be the aliens' final mistake. The Korthak hegemony assembled the largest fleet in their history for the assault on humanity's birthworld. Over 1,000 ships, including their most powerful dreadnoughts, jumped into the Sol system with the intention of destroying Earth and ending human resistance once and for all. What they found waiting for them changed the course of galactic history. Earth's solar system had been transformed into a fortress during the weeks since the crisis began. Every asteroid had been armed, every space station converted into a weapons platform. The moon itself bristled with defensive installations that had been hidden beneath its surface for decades. Captain Jake Morrison, now commanding the rebuilt battleship Defiance, watched the alien fleet emerge from hyperspace with grim satisfaction. "So they finally decided to come to us," he told his crew. "Let's show them what a real fight looks like." The Battle of Sol became humanity's defining moment. As alien warships poured through the outer system, every human in space became a combatant. Mining ships rammed enemy vessels, research stations revealed hidden weapon systems, and civilian transports carried suicide bombs into the heart of the alien formation. "This is Luna Base to all human forces," broadcast Admiral Sullivan from her command center. "Today we fight not just for our lives, but for our right to exist in this galaxy. Every ship, every station, every human in space, you are now part of Earth's defense fleet." The response was immediate and overwhelming. Humanity had learned from the alien attacks on their colonies, and they had prepared for this moment. Every human in the Sol system, from corporate executives to asteroid miners, had spent weeks training for the battle they knew was coming. The aliens expected to fight Earth's official military forces, but instead found themselves facing an entire civilization that had turned itself into a weapon. The distinction between military and civilian targets disappeared as humanity fought with the desperate fury of a species facing extinction. "Enemy dreadnought approaching Luna," reported Captain Mary Johnson from her converted cargo hauler. "All civilian ships form up for ramming attack." The sight of unarmed human ships charging directly at alien dreadnoughts, accepting certain death to protect their homeworld, broke something fundamental in the alien psyche. These were not the civilized, peaceful humans they had known during the years of the peace accords. These were warriors fighting for their survival as the battle raged through the solar system. Human technology that had been hidden for years revealed itself. Weapons platforms emerged from asteroids. Defensive systems activated throughout the system, and the true extent of human military preparation became clear. The alien fleet, despite its numerical advantage, found itself fighting not just human ships, but the solar system itself. Everything from communication satellites to weather monitoring stations had been weaponized, turning Earth's entire neighborhood into a deadly trap. Captain Morrison led the final assault that broke the alien fleet, his ship damaged but victorious as the surviving enemy vessels fled toward the edge of the system. As he watched them retreat, he activated his communication system to broadcast across all frequencies. "This is Captain Morrison of the human battleship Defiance to all alien forces in this system," he announced. "You came here to destroy our homeworld and exterminate our species. Instead, you have learned what humans become when you threaten our families and our home." 6 months after the Battle of Sol, the galaxy bore little resemblance to the peaceful civilization that had existed under the old Galactic Council. The Grand Alliance of 17 species had collapsed into chaos, with former allies turning against each other as human fleets systematically dismantled the military infrastructure of every species that had participated in the attempted genocide. General Marcus Webb stood in the command center of the massive space station Titan's Wrath, orbiting the ruins of what had once been the Galactic Council headquarters on Sanctum Prime. Through the viewports, he could see the wreckage of alien dreadnoughts floating in space, monuments to the price of betraying humanity. Status report. Marcus ordered his staff as he reviewed the latest intelligence from across the galaxy. Colonel Danny Rodriguez activated the main display, showing a map of known space marked with the expanding zones of human control. Operation. Clean sweep is ahead of schedule, General. Admiral Parker's fleet has secured the Zephyrian capital, and Admiral Ross reports that the last Korthik stronghold surrendered this morning. Marcus studied the information with professional satisfaction. The strategy had been simple and devastating. Rather than trying to hold territory, human forces had focused on destroying the enemy's ability to make war. Shipyards, weapons factories, and military academies had been systematically eliminated, leaving the alien species defenseless against human expansion. "What about civilian casualties?" Marcus asked. "Minimal," Danny replied. "Our forces have followed your orders to avoid unnecessary destruction of non-military targets. However, we have been relocating alien populations away from strategic locations to prevent future resistance." The general nodded. Humanity had learned from the aliens' own tactics, understanding that controlling populations was often more effective than simply destroying them. Unlike their enemies, however, humans had shown restraint in their treatment of conquered peoples. On the former Zephyrian homeworld, High Chancellor Vextar knelt in chains before Ambassador Linda Carter, who had been freed from alien captivity, and now served as humanity's chief negotiator for surrender terms. The proud alien leader who had orchestrated the conspiracy against humanity was a broken figure, his empire reduced to rubble by human military might. The Zephyrian Empire formally surrenders all military assets and territorial claims to the Terran hegemony. Vexstar read from the document before him, his voice barely audible. We acknowledge human authority over our former territories and pledge to serve the new galactic order. Linda watched the ceremony with mixed emotions. 3 years ago, she had worked tirelessly to build bridges between humanity and these alien species, believing that cooperation and mutual respect could create a peaceful galaxy. Now she was accepting the surrender of beings who had betrayed that trust and tried to exterminate her entire species. Your formal surrender is accepted, Linda replied coldly. Zephyrian military personnel will be processed through rehabilitation centers to determine their fitness for service in human auxiliary forces. Your civilian population will be relocated to designated worlds under human supervision. The terms were harsh but not genocidal. Unlike the aliens who had planned to exterminate humanity completely, the humans offered their conquered enemies a chance to rebuild under human guidance. It was mercy of a sort, though not the kind that weak species could refuse. Captain Jake Morrison walked through the ruins of the Korthic Military Academy on their homeworld, observing the systematic dismantling of the institution that had trained generations of alien warriors to see other species as prey. Human engineers were converting the facility into a school that would teach young Korthics about cooperation and peaceful coexistence under human authority. It's hard to believe they thought they could destroy us, commented Lieutenant Sam Brooks, who had survived the siege of New Montana to become one of Morrison's most trusted officers. Looking at their equipment and tactics, they were decades behind human military technology. Jake nodded thoughtfully. They made the same mistake that civilizations have made throughout history. They confused our desire for peace with inability to make war. They saw our diplomatic efforts as weakness rather than strength. The transformation of the galaxy under human rule was proceeding with remarkable efficiency. President Robert Clark, now styling himself as supreme leader of the Terran hegemony, had established a new form of galactic government that eliminated the democratic pretenses of the old council while ensuring human dominance over all major decisions. The galaxy belongs to humanity now, Clark announced during his address to the reformed Galactic Assembly, where alien representatives sat in designated areas while human officials occupied the positions of real authority. We did not seek this responsibility, but it was forced upon us by those who mistook our peaceful nature for weakness. The alien delegates listened in silence, understanding that their species' survival depended on human goodwill. The Luminians, who had tried to mediate during the early stages of the conflict, now served as administrators in human territory. The Drakmori survivors worked in human-supervised reconstruction projects, their swarm mentality redirected toward productive purposes. Admiral Kate Sullivan commanded the most powerful military force in galactic history from her flagship, the Super Dreadnought Humanity's Wrath. Her fleet patrolled the space lanes that connected human territories, ensuring that trade and communication flowed according to human priorities. Admiral, reported Captain Helen Ross from the bridge of the escort destroyer Vengeance, we're receiving a distress call from the Proxima mining colony. They're reporting unusual alien activity in the outer system. Kate smiled coldly. In the months since humanity's victory, several alien groups had attempted to organize resistance movements, hoping to restore the old order through terrorism and sabotage. Each attempt had been crushed quickly and completely, with the survivors serving as examples to discourage further resistance. Deploy Response Fleet 7, Kate ordered. Full suppression protocols. I want this resistance cell eliminated before they can spread their message to other systems. The response was swift and overwhelming. Human ships appeared throughout the Proxima system within hours, hunting down the alien terrorists with the efficiency of predators pursuing wounded prey. There would be no mercy for those who threatened human authority. On Earth, in the deep bunkers beneath the Rocky Mountains, General Webb received the final reports from the pacification campaigns. Every major alien military force had been destroyed or absorbed into human auxiliary units. The species that had once threatened humanity with extinction now served as workers, administrators, and support personnel in the expanding human empire. "Sir," Colonel Rodriguez reported, "we're receiving surrender requests from the last independent alien governments. The Trilarian Confederacy and the Nexus. Collective are offering to join the hegemony voluntarily rather than face military conquest." Marcus considered the offers carefully. The two remaining independent governments controlled resource-rich systems that would be valuable additions to human territory, but they had also maintained neutrality during the war against humanity. Their surrender now was motivated by fear, rather than guilt. Accept their surrenders, Marcus decided, but place them under probationary status. Any sign of disloyalty or resistance will result in immediate military occupation. As he spoke, Marcus reflected on how much had changed since the peaceful exploration missions of just a year ago. The humans who had sought friendship among the stars had been transformed by betrayal and war into the galaxy's undisputed masters. The cost of that transformation was still being calculated. Captain Morrison stood on the observation deck of Titan's Wrath, looking out at the steady stream of alien ships arriving for the formal signing of humanity's galactic charter. Representatives from dozens of species came to acknowledge human authority and accept their place in the new order. The signing ceremony was held in the same chamber where the Galactic Council had once met as equals. Now it served as a throne. Room for human power, with President Clark presiding over the formal establishment of the Terran hegemony as the galaxy's governing authority. "Let it be known across all worlds and all species," Clark announced as the charter was signed, "that humanity sought peace but found only betrayal. We offered friendship and received genocide in return. Now we offer a different choice: serve willingly or be served justice." Admiral Sullivan watched the proceedings from her command post, remembering the idealistic exploration missions that had brought humanity to the stars. Those days seemed like ancient history now, though less than 4 years had passed since first contact. "The galaxy belongs to humanity now," she told her staff as the ceremony concluded. "We will never again be vulnerable to those who mistake our mercy for weakness. We tried to be partners with these species, but they chose to make us their masters instead." The final words of the Galactic Charter echoed through space as it was broadcast to every inhabited world. "By the authority of the Terran hegemony and in the name of all humanity, let this document serve as notice that the age of human weakness is over. We are no longer the peaceful explorers who sought friendship among the stars.